This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. If you're looking for cards in the US, look no further as you can use the promo code MTGMudsta to get you 5% off anything on the site. Or if you're in Canada like me, you can use the same promo code at Multizone to get 10% off your orders of singles. If cards aren't what you're looking for, Original Magic Art has playmats, tokens, and sweet art that you can use that same promo code to help you get 5% off your order there. If you're looking to bling out your cards, using Alter Sleeves is a great way to do so, and you can click the affiliate link in my About section to help out the channel as you make an order. And if you just want to help out the channel, you can always consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month and join the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, I just want to bring to your attention that Johannes, Voss, and Original Magic Art are teaming up. This will be the first time that some of his beautiful art for cards like Gift of Orzhova, the Dog Plains, the Kaldheim Island, Prismatic Bridge, and Carpet of Flowers are available on playmats. The Kickstarter is running from September 13th until October 13th, and you can help support it and my channel at the same time by using the affiliate link below. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game was filmed at Kessel Run Games, and we have some brand new faces joining us. First up, Brody is playing a Zndrsplt and Okaun deck, keeping a Rootwater Diver, Soulbright Flamekin, Sky Diamond, Vashano Sandswimmer, Usri, and 2 Mountains. Rejoining us is Raf, playing Gyome, and keeps a Damnable Pact, Storev, Varigoth, Mezeric, Temple of Malady, and 2 forests. Cam is also back playing Ayula, keeping 4 snow-covered forests, Nissa Worldwaker, Cloudstone Curio, and Extraplanar Lens. New to the channel is Drew, playing her Tiamat deck, keeping a Plains, Savage Ventmaw, Temple of Malice, Altar the Pantheon, Unknown Shores, Old Gnawbone, and Haven of the Spirit Dragon. Cam wins the die roll and starts us off. Cam plays a snow-covered forest and passes. Drew plays a tapped Temple of Malice, scrying 1 and keeping it on top. Raf does something similar with his Temple of Malady, scrying 1. Brody plays an island and casts a Rootwater Diver and then passes to Cam. Cam plays another snow-covered forest and casts Ayula. Drew plays an Unknown Shore, passing to Raf. Raf drops a Sap Steep Forest and passes. Brody plays a mountain and then taps 2 for a tap Sky Diamond and passes to Cam. Cam plays another snow-covered forest and taps 3 for Extraplanar Lens. He exiles a snow-covered forest as it enters and passes. Drew plays a Haven of the Spirit Dragon and then taps 3 for Burnished Heart. Raf plays a forest and casts Varigoth before passing to Brody. Brody taps 3 in his main phase and casts Usri and then just ships it to Cam. Cam has another snow-covered forest in his main phase, and he taps 3 lands for 6 mana, using some of it for Nissa Worldwaker. Once the walker resolves, he then upticks her to untap some lands. He then casts an Abundance, followed by a Burgeoning, and passes to Drew. Drew plays a Plains for turn, and Cam puts out a snow-covered forest with a Burgeoning trigger. She then just passes to Raf. Raf starts his turn off by swinging Varigoths at Nissa, which Cam lets connect. Raf then pays for Varigoth's Boast ability and tutors for a card to put on top of his library. He plays a forest for turn and passes. Brody plays a mountain and then casts a Zndrsplt. Moving to combat, Zndrsplt triggers and Brody flips a coin, saying he'll always pick head to simplify things. He gets the first, drawing a card, and gets the second, drawing again. Third time's the charm though, but he fails the fourth. He then swings Usri at Nissa, which has Brody declaring he'll flip 5 coins. He fails 4 of them, taking 8 damage, and passes 1, drawing from both Usri and Zndrsplt. Nissa then gets taken out, and Brody passes, discarding down to 7. Cam names non-land with Abundance, and only needs to reveal his top card as he shows a Vanquisher's Banner to put to hand. He taps 3 forests to cast it, and names Bears as it comes in. He then passes, which has Drew sacrificing the Burnished Heart at the end of turn to go and find 2 basics. Drew plays a forest for turn, and then drops out Old Gnawbone, which the table is not thrilled to see, and she passes to Raf. Raf plays a forest and taps 4 for Migratory Path, going into his library and putting out 2 swamps to the field tapped, and passes. Brody plays an island for turn, and drops Kark the Thumbless. He then puts 2 into the X of Reshape, and sacrifices his Sky Diamond, and has to flip for Kark before resolving the spell. Kark ends up returning the spell to hand, unfortunately for him. Moving to combat, Zndrsplt triggers and fails. He then goes at Wrath with Yusri, once more declaring he'll do 5 coin flips. He fails another 4 times and wins 1, drawing a card from Yusri, and 1 from Zndrsplt and takes 8. He then connects with Wrath's face, and Brody then passes, discarding down to 7. Cam calls for a non-land from his Abundance trigger and reveals 1 off the top with Harrow. He puts it to his hand, and before leaving the draw step, Brody decides to sacrifice the Rootwater Diver to return the Sky Diamond to hand. Cam then taps 2 lands to make 4 mana, using 3 of it to cast Harrow and sacrifice one of the tapped lands. He grabs 2 more snow-covered forests which come in untapped. Having not drawn any bears yet though, Cam then just passes to Drew. Drew untaps and in her main phase drops Morophon, naming dragons as the legendary shapeshifter enters. She then goes to combat swinging Old Gnawbone at Cam. Cam takes 8 from the dragon, and Drew gets to make 8 treasure tokens. She then needs only spend 2 of them though to cast Tiamat because of Morophon's cost reduction, and goes to find some dragon cards from her library. She reveals Scourge of Valkis, Chaos Dragon, and Skyline Despot. She then ships the turn to Raph. Raph taps 5 for Damnable Pact, putting 3 into the X. This has him drawing 3 and losing 3 life. He then plays a Swamp and casts a Dawn-Treader Elk, passing to Brody. Brody plays an island for turn and casts a Junk Diver. He follows up once it resolves with Molten Birth, and there's a lot of coin flips. He gets 2 of the flips, drawing 2 cards from Zndrsplt and making a copy of Molten Birth, meaning he gets 4 tokens. He then moves to combat, getting a win with Zndrsplt flip and draws, but fails his second one. He swings Yusri at Cam, and declares he'll do 5 flips again. He gets 3 correct, but still fails 2, drawing a total of 6 cards between Yusri and Zndrsplt, but also takes 4, while Yusri deals 2 to Cam. Brody then discards down to 7, and passes turn. Cam calls for a non-land from Abundance, and reveals Kindred Summoning. He draws it, and passes to Drew. Drew untaps and plays a forest. She then brings out Vondris, Rage of Ancients, followed by a Savage Ventmaw, with that Morophon reduction doing a lot of work this turn. She swings Tiamat and Gnawbone at Raph, dealing 16 damage and making 16 treasures. In her second main phase, she then casts a Chaos Dragon. Drew then plays out her Altar of the Pantheon, and taps it to gain 1 life, and passes. At the end of turn, Raph sacrifices his Elk to go and find a basic. Raph plays a Llanowar Wastes as land for turn, and taps enough to bring in his commander, Gyome Master Chef. He follows up with Mazarek and passes, making 2 Foe tokens at the end of turn from his commander's trigger. Brody's main phase has him try and reshape again, and putting 2 into the X and sacrificing his Junk Diver. With the diver dying, it gets to return to hand his Sky Diamond, and he then flips for Kark, succeeding on the first one, which lets him draw a card from Zndrsplt, and then lets him go and find 2 artifacts with a CMC of 2. His first is the obvious Kark's Thumb, and the second is a Mere Retriever. He then moves to combat to resolve his Zndrsplt flip, which means he gets an extra coin flip from the Thumb. He fails both though. Brody then swings Yusri at Cam, and starts flipping for the 5. Despite his ability to flip an extra time for each flip and pick the best one, Brody manages to fail 4 somehow, having failed 8 flips and takes 8, and draws 2 and deals 2 to Cam. Moving to his second main phase, Brody taps 2 for a Goblin Bomb and ships it to Cam. Cam just draws, forgetting about his Abundance trigger, and passes to Drew. Drew draws for turn and plays out Instrument of the Bards for 1 green. She taps some more mana to play out her Skyline Despot, becoming the Monarch as it enters. Before letting her go to declare attackers, Cam uses Beast Within on Old Gnawbone. The dragon is destroyed, and Drew gets a 3/3 beast token. Raph then gets in on the action, sacrificing what he calls a sandwich token, and Mazarek gives his team a +1/+1 counter, plus Gyome taps down Savage Ventmaw. Drew then has the table resolve the Chaos Dragon trigger she moves to declare attacks, and after rolling the lowest, has it swing at Raph while Tiamat and Zndrsplt go at Cam. They all just take the hits, and Drew then taps her altar to gain a life, and passes, drawing at the end of turn from being Monarch. Raph casts a Loxodon Warhammer in his main phase, and gears up Varagos with it. We then see a Diligent Farmhand join Raph's side of the board, and he moves to combat. Varagoth goes at Drew, who takes the 6 while Raph gains 6. Raph then becomes the Monarch, and passes, making a food token at the end of turn from Guillaume's trigger, and drawing a card from being the Monarch. Brody flips a coin for his Goblin Bomb, getting it right the first time, and draws from Zndrsplt, and then for turn. He plays a Mountain, and casts a Strionic Resonator, and once that's resolved, plays Chance Encounter. Responding to the enchantment, Raph sacrifices a food token, and uses Guillaume's ability to tap down Usri, while also adding another +1/+1 counter to his creatures from Mazarik's trigger. Brody then casts a Sky Diamond, and moves to combat. He flips for Zndrsplt, failing the first flip, and gets that extra flip from the thumb. He fails that one too. Brody then passes, and he moves to Cam's turn. Cam draws, and puts out a Bearscape, finally getting something that'll make him some bears. He has enough cards in his graveyard to make 2 bear tokens if needed, and passes to Drew. Drew gets a counter on her Instrument of the Bard on her upkeep, and draws for turn. She plays out a Cinder Glade, and taps the altar for 1 life. She declares she'll move to combat, which has Raph using a food token and tap down Tiamat, plus add more +1/+1 counters to his board, thanks to Mazarik. They then roll for the Chaos Dragon, who once again attacks Raph. She swings it and the Beast token at Raph, with Raph blocking the Beast token and taking the Dragon hit. This has Drew becoming the Monarch again, and she passes, drawing at the end of turn. Raph draws and counts up his power. He casts a Noxish Gearhulk, which comes in and takes out Morophon, gaining him a bit of life as the Shapeshifter is destroyed. Raph then goes at Drew with Varagoth, gaining 7 as it connects. He takes back the Monarch, and in his second main phase, casts Dina, Soul Steeper. He passes, making a food token at the end of turn, and drawing a card from being the Monarch. Brody flips for his bomb, and gets the first flip trigger, adding a counter to the bomb, and drawing from Zndrsplt, and then drawing for turn. He plays a Mountain, and brings out Okaun, Eye of Chaos. He declares he'll go to combat, which has Raph once more using a food token to tap down Usri, while Mazarik adds another +1/+1 counter to his board state. Brody then starts flipping for Okaun, adding counters to the Chance Encounter. He adds up to 9 counters from that first before failing flips, and then moves to Zndrsplt and just keeps going. He ends up drawing 13 cards, and Okaun's power is just insanely large. Sadly, he doesn't draw into Chanter's Ignition though, and he then moves to his second main phase, playing out Planar Chaos. He passes, and at the end of turn, Cam exiles enough cards to make a bear token, and as it comes in, gives it a +1/+1 counter from Ayula, and then does it again. Cam's turn has him naming a non-land with Abundance, and he hits a spell. He then casts Kindred Summoning, but fails the coin flip from Planar Chaos, which counters the spell. Cam then passes to Drew. Drew adds another counter to her instrument and plays a Plains. She taps enough mana in her main phase for Scourge of Valkus, which has her flipping from the Planar Chaos. She calls it correctly, which has Brody drawing a card, and the dragon then enters, dealing 6 to Brody with its Enter the Battlefield trigger. She follows up with a Thunderbreak Regent, hitting the flip again, and this time dealing 7 to Brody this time around. Drew then casts Charge Through onto Tiamat and draws a card after giving her commander Trample. That card is a black dragon, which she casts, and as it enters, has the Acid Breath trigger take out Ayula and deals 8 to Cam. She then swings enough to take him out and the rest at Raph. Unfortunately, at this point my camera dies. We did stick around to finish the game though, and to quickly summarize, on Raph's turn he swings for what he thinks is lethal, only to be fooled by a fog, and then dies to the crackback from dragons. Game review time. So this one was a bit of a lower powered game, with everyone deciding to bring a deck that they thought would be fun to play. That being said, I was a bit surprised with Raph's deck, considering he had Varagoth out for so long, and that Boast ability could have found him hopefully a piece of removal or a board wipe. I guess at the point that it became relevant, Drew already had so many treasures from old Gnawbone that it really wouldn't have slowed her down all that much. It did seem like once her deck got going, she was really hard to stop, and I was actually kind of surprised that she only found 3 dragons with a Tiamat trigger, but she said she didn't need any more. Brody's deck was a thing of beauty to see, despite the fact that he failed so many of his flips, and I think Usuri did the most damage to him out of anyone. I will say that as much as I enjoy a good coin flip deck, unfortunately it adds a lot of extra time to a game, and in this case I had to fast forward through tons of it. And Cam's Ayula deck unfortunately didn't do a heck of a lot either. He kept a pretty decent hand with no real ramp, but he did have 4 lands, which for his deck seemed to basically be the top end of his curve. Plus the extra planar lens meant that he was going to have mana for days, and he even drew into a Vanquisher's Banner that would pump his board and draw him cards. The downside was he just didn't draw into any bears. There's just not much a deck like that can do when you're not drawing the enabler pieces. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.